Never buy a hungry or helpless woman's body in exchange for her hunger. He used to run a small shop in Shalimar, Lahore, a tiny stall that sold naan chana and siri pay. I had eaten there many times, but there was something about him that always bothered me. Every time the best piece of meat or the juiciest marrow bone appeared, he would quietly set it aside. He'd remove the marrow, throw away the empty bone and keep the best portion separately. I often wondered why. Was it greed? Dishonesty? I felt more anger than surprise, but I never asked. Back then, I was just a college student, too young, too shy, and too afraid to question anyone. So I stayed silent, and life moved on. Years passed. I left Lahore, completed my education, and buried that small memory somewhere deep inside. 7 years later, I returned to Lahore with an old friend. We stopped for breakfast, and I found myself standing in front of the same shop once again. Before I could step inside, a shiny new car pulled up and stopped right in front of me. The door opened, and out stepped the same man, the same shopkeeper. He looked successful now, well-dressed, confident. And yet, when he saw me, his face lit up with warmth and recognition. He greeted me with kindness, welcomed me as if I were an old friend. He ordered the best breakfast for me, and personally brought a bowl of siri pay to my table. Then, I saw him carry another bowl, and disappear behind a curtain, and I thought to myself, some habits never change. When he returned, I finally asked the question that had stayed inside me all these years. Why do you always keep the best pieces aside? I asked. That's not honesty, is it? He smiled softly and said, you still think like a child. Then he told me something that silenced me completely. He said, I never kept those pieces for myself. I saved them for a woman who comes here every day asking in the name of Allah. He pointed behind the curtain and I saw her. An old, frail woman sitting on the floor, barely able to move. He said, I feed her with my own hands every morning. I wipe her mouth and thank Allah for sending her to me. He looked down, eyes full of tears. I don't even know who she is, he said. I don't know her religion, her name, or where she comes from. But when she asks in the name of Allah, I know it is my Lord who has sent her to my door. Then he told me about his past, how he had lost his father as a child, how his mother worked in people's homes to feed him. Sometimes there was no work, and hunger became a familiar pain. He said, my mother would hold my hand and go door to door asking for food, not for herself but for me. One day, he continued, a man in a car stopped us. He laughed and said to my mother, spend the night with me, and in the morning, I'll feed both of you. Too. His voice trembled. My mother said nothing. She just held my hand and walked away, while those men laughed behind us. He wiped his tears and continued, she died before my business ever succeeded. But before she took her last breath, she said something I will never forget. He paused and then whispered her words, son, never buy a hungry or helpless woman's body in exchange for her hunger. There was silence between us. We both sat there, crying quietly. He, remembering his mother, and I, ashamed of my thoughts. Outside, the call to prayer began.